It's Dr. Laurie LaPat-Polasko, businesswoman, and she just got awarded, named an Outstanding Woman in Business by the Phoenix Business Journal, which is a big deal, y'all, because a lot of people were being, considered for that. Laurie is here. Now, Laurie's going to shed some light about what she's involved in. Laurie is very, very key in she's world-renowned, but she's key in helping keep our waterways safe, cleaning them up after catastrophic events, and she's a research scientist and all-around amazing woman. Laurie, for you, how do you, because in your field, I'm sure you come across a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome, maybe of people or even competitors that may say, you can't do that. How do you overcome that?
Well, when I come to a project or a group of people, the goal is to understand what's going on. I'm a super positive person, and that goes way back to my childhood, and that's a long story. But it's all about what's the final goal we're trying to achieve. We're here for each other. We have this one planet here, and if we're not going to work together, things are going to start falling apart.
And they are.
And they are, exactly. I choose a company based on the people. Mm-hmm. And if they're women or men, it doesn't matter. I'm interested in working with the highest quality people who have high ethics, have standards, and want to work together as a team. And it's never about one person.
That's good. That's a good way to feel. But I think for me, I like the girls group too. I think that's cool. Some powerful women at the helm. I like that.
Well, it's exciting to have a women-owned company because we know that we're out there kind of forging the way. And here is our opportunity to mentor young women who are coming up and teach them what are the key leadership skills that you need to succeed in this woman. I've been in this business now 25, 30 years, and it's been a man's world.
Absolutely.
Mostly engineers. When I started out at Stanford in civil and environmental engineering, it was 2 women in the program, and there was like 50, 60 men.
Why do you think that is, Laurie?
Well, I think because women and young girls are afraid of math.
It's a 4-letter word to me, for real.
And I think there's a lot of girls that feel that way, and it's very important that we get out into the elementary schools and really encourage girls to make math fun. Mm-hmm. and want to do math.
Does it start with our teachers, or do we bring public speakers in? How do we do that?
It's all of the above. It's the teachers are really important, and they need to really encourage the young girls.
And as a young girl, were you excited about math? How did you fall into this world?
No, I was good in math, but I didn't think about it. It was not something I even thought about.
So before you went into engineering and became the amazing scientist that you are, what would you have done? Where do you think you were headed?
So I think I was headed to becoming a UN interpreter. I think that's kind of where I was focused, and I was good at languages. And when you have a certain skill set, like you're a good golfer, and you go kind of with your skill set. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting and it was fun to me. But then, but as a child, I grew up in Chicago, and my parents would take us to the museums and the aquariums all the time. And so one of the aquariums is the Shedd Aquarium in Chicago. It's probably one of the best in the world. And every year I would go there, and in the middle of the aquarium is this coral reef tank. And a diver would get in that tank every day, 4 times a day, and hand feed the sharks and the angelfish and the sea turtles. And I was like, that is the coolest job. Yes. I want to get that job one day when I grow up.
Nice.
And in fact, I ended up getting that job one day.
Really? You actually hand fed the sharks?
Oh, yeah. And one year, the day after Christmas, now I'm in college. I'm a cocky college kid. And I start the job in December, and I'm all excited. And it comes to Christmas Day, and the aquarium is only closed 2 days of the year, mm-hmm. Christmas and New Year's. And so now I've been doing the job for a while, and my boss is like, they're going to be a little extra hungry the day after Christmas. I'm like, no problem, I got this. So I get in the tank, and I start giving my lecture to the people and telling them how, nurse sharks, their skin is really rough, and it's like sandpaper, and so you're giving this information to the public. And then I'm watching the glass, and I could see a lot of my friends and my family coming, and there's hundreds of people at the aquarium that day.
Yeah.
It's a huge day. And I went to feed one of the sharks some shrimp. I wasn't really paying attention. And the shark just bit out of my hand and blood starts shooting out. And I'm like, whoa, that's it for today's show. And I go swimming out of the tank. And
Oh, wow.
But I have to say, people said, best show
Best
ever.
Oh, yeah.
So
I want to go to that show.
yeah. So I have to say, though, and then when you go to the hospital and they look what happened, they're like, oh, my gosh, what happened to you? And I'm like, shark bite. And they're like, call in psychiatric. And I'm like, no, really, it was a shark bite. So it was a very fun, but it was a great job. And I enjoyed the aquarium greatly.
Wow.
So
Yes.
when did your passion for the environment and its protection begin? Was it, this is something that I wanted to know. Like, you are in this world now. So is it the job and the career that brought that onto you, or was it actually your passion that drew you to the job that you have now?
Okay.
Which was it?
So I'd say it's more that when I was, so from going from the aquarium and working at the shed, I ended up going over, I wrote a letter to Jacques Cousteau, and I ended up working for him over in Monaco. And when I went to work with Cousteau, instead of being involved in a project in the aquarium, he owns an aquarium right in Monaco, I ended up getting involved in a water pollution project in the Mediterranean Sea. So 2 days a week, I'd throw on my bikini, and we'd hop on Cousteau's boats, and we'd
Just another day in the office.
No.
Yeah,
Another day.
now I know why he was doing that. It's all making
see why
sense.
this job is great. This is
Jacques Cousteau,
Yeah.
a player.
So we'd put on bikinis and we'd hop on the boat and we'd motor up and down the coast of Monaco, France, and Italy. And this is at a time when a lot of the small towns and cities were not treating their sewage. So they're literally thinking about this: take your toilet stuff and dump it right out into the
my
Mediterranean Sea. That does not sound like a pretty sight to me.
Anyone want to go swimming?
No, exactly. And so there were times when we were literally testing for pathogens, disease-causing microbes in the Mediterranean Sea, and it was high enough that we'd have to close the beaches. Now, you don't want to close the beaches along Nice in that area because it's a huge tourist area. Cousteau, and we're gathering a lot of data to show these cities and towns that they were having a negative impact on the environment, and which was going to have a negative impact on the marine life, and it was a whole tumble-down effect, and that therefore we need to treat the sewage. And so he worked with the governments. So we had this project with Monaco, France, and Italy to say, this is a problem. We need to develop treatment systems. Let's allocate funding. And this ended up happening.
That's
Wow.
It was
amazing.
a really,
That's huge.
So that's what got me, that was the initiation of myself into the environmental field and seeing what a huge impact we can have as people negatively on the environment, but then likewise to clean it up.
So just to the general public, what could we do on a day-to-day basis here in America to help with our environment? What could we do? What would be the greatest thing?
Well, there's lots of different things we can do. Some of the easy ones, I mean, energy is a big issue. And we use a lot of energy in this nation per person. And so if each of us were took time to be energy conservative, turn off your lights, set your thermostats, change them throughout the day when you're not there. I mean, a lot of these things are simple things to do, but if millions of people do it, it's going to have a positive impact. And the other thing is like not throwing things down the toilet that shouldn't go down the toilet. I mean, lots of people throw their medicine down the toilet.
Right.
Well, what people don't understand is what comes down to the toilet then goes to a sewage treatment plant, and then that water ends up going into a surface water. And that water could end up being one of your drinking water sources, or it could be where you're going to be swimming. So all of these things will have, it's the whole circle of how things are happening in life and how we impact it.
On the American beaches, are we at risk when we're swimming in the ocean? What do you think as a scientist that sees it for real?
Well, on the beaches, most of our beaches are pretty good. I mean, we take our environment pretty serious in the USA, which is a great thing, and we have the EPA to help kind of guide us on this. But a big concern, actually, if I were somebody, is after a big storm event. I would not want to be swimming in the beaches anywhere after a big storm event, because storm events take all of the material, all the garbage or whatever, and dump it right in that beach area. So you'll end up having high contaminants there. You could have higher pathogens. So that's not a good time to be hanging out on the beach.
All right, we're going to take that into consideration. I never thought about that. And, I'm always thinking it's beautiful after a storm. So I hit the water, not here in the desert, but when I'm ever at the beach in California, I do. Okay, a couple more questions. We don't have much time with you, unfortunately, left. So I want to get to our questions. What do you think is your greatest accomplishment professionally?
Oh, my gosh. I think my greatest accomplishment professionally was working with Jacques Cousteau and learning from him and making a difference in the Mediterranean Sea. And then I took that knowledge and experience and was able to use it to be involved in the Exxon Valdez oil spill, cleaning up major contamination and allowing those environments to be restored back to their natural conditions is a huge benefit to our planet and hopefully to the people who live around.
It must
those
be
areas.
pretty satisfying to watch it go from this absolute cesspool to something that's livable again. I mean, because of something you've helped with.
It is. It's pretty amazing. I have a site in Pennsylvania and another one in California where we had contamination, chlorinated solvents. So a lot of companies use solvents to clean their metal products or whatever. And so a lot of these, like TCE is a very common one people talk about, and PCE is in dry cleaning. But I have a couple sites where we had like 50,000 parts per billion in the groundwater. This is like drinking water. And the cleanup goal is 5 parts per billion.
Wow.
So that's a long way to go. But a couple sites I did this in situ bioremediation where we inject microbes into the groundwater and I add nutrients to make them happy. Let's give them a little filet mignon and some dessert at the same time. And then the microbes start degrading it. And these sites, we've gone from 50,000 down to less than 5 parts per billion in like a year and a half. And that's
how, I mean, you go to sleep at night and I mean, you must have a great sense of accomplishment. So for personally, what greatest accomplishment?
I think my personal greatest accomplishment is watching my 2 children grow up and become amazing young adults. And my son is a case manager and helps run a homeless shelter in the middle of Phoenix, and he's doing great work every day to help people. And my daughter's working on her PhD at UCLA in environmental engineering, so we can both talk shop together. And I feel very, very blessed that I have a husband who has been extremely supportive of my career and opportunities that have been presented to me.
But Laurie, you're a person that is actually changing the world. You're someone that is actually able to do something to reverse a lot of the damages that we're creating. And not many of us can say that. I mean, I'm happy if I clean a room good and it looks good. You know what I mean? I have a sense of accomplishment, but what you're doing is well beyond that. So greatest advice you've ever been given in your life?
Greatest advice came from my 95-year-old mother, who a long time ago when I was young said, be fearless. She's 95 now, going to be 95 in a few weeks, and she was a mover and shaker. When she was in her 20s, she learned how to fly an airplane.
Wow.
Women did not do that.
Wow, Laurie.
So she was certainly, and I have 6 siblings. I'm the middle child of 7 kids. She raised all 7 of us, and that's a whole long story, because when you have 7 children, you have all sorts of issues with, we had children who had special needs and all sorts of things that and I learned how, my mom taught me how to be, you help the one who has the greatest need at the moment. And it's not all about life trying to be fair to everybody,
Right.
and that's not how it works.
It's for the well-being of the unit.
Yeah, and so she taught me to be fearless, and that's why as I went out to do different things in my life and, lived on the island and all sorts of things, you just grab life and you go for it.
Laurie here. What is the best advice you have ever given or would like to give?
Well, best advice I can tell people is never give up. Go for it. I remember when I wrote Jacques Cousteau that letter and people thought I was nuts. They're like, well, why would you do that? He's never going to, but who knows? Good things might happen. So you just have to, you put yourself out there, be fearless. Mm-hmm. And, some things, good things aren't always going to happen. I've had many failures over my life. And, we could talk about them, but it's being willing to get up and give it another try and learn from your failures. I think that's equally as important as anything else.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I really do. And we unfortunately have to go. The hour goes by so fast, especially when you're joined by someone as fascinating as you are. Thank you so much for joining us in this hour. You have been here with the Venus Vault, along with Craig Matthew, Ed Vanderlee, Cindy Lou Jones, and our wonderful guest, Laurie LaPat-Polasko, doctor. She is with Matrix New World Engineering. Offer your support by just, finding out more about this company and this wonderful woman and the work that they're doing in the world to help us have a safe and beautiful environment. And remember to take care of this planet we live on, because we only have one.